Hey guys, Faxi Nadu here. I'm with you today with Ableton Live and with our live setup. I want to show you and get into a little bit of about our concept for our new live show that we're calling Purity, just because. And through this, maybe you can get some ideas how to create your own live show, how you can use Ableton and your gear and your knowledge and your music to actually to create a live show. Today it's very easy using tools like Ableton Live, for example, and it's a lot of fun, and it's very much possible to do once you kind of think about it and plan what you want to do. So obviously there's a million ways to do this. There's a million other ways to use the gear that we're going to show you. Um, we're obviously not taking full advantage of everything because it's just impossible. But I'll show you what we are doing. And you can do this and you can do other stuff, and that's cool. So just a little bit about us. We are two people. And two people is obviously different than doing it with one person. And the more people you are, obviously you can do more. So this concept, it's worth to keep in mind that it's for two people performance. So before we get into Ableton and the gear and everything, I have a little text file over here, as you probably noticed. And when we started to think about making a live trance show, we kind of thought about a few things. I mean, we didn't have it like this, like on a text, but we discussed it between us, the various aspects that we want our show to have, and I'll go over it quickly. Obviously, interaction between the musician and the music, as in to be live, to actually do things, and both in the interaction between us, that we actually perform together, and it feels and sounds that way. We wanted it to be good music, not just be live for the sake of live, because it's very easy to throw a few loops and, play some stuff and to say, forgive me that it's not really great and not processed and not whatever, but because it's live. We didn't want to sound that way. We want to sound good. And yeah, cooperation I've mentioned with interaction actually. So yeah, cooperation between us. We talked about the gear that we want to use and how we want to utilize it. And it was very important for the end product to be tourable, meaning that all the gear that we have, we can actually fit in a reasonable amount of bags and backpacks. In pretty much, I guess, two backpacks and maybe one more handheld like gym bag. That should do it for our gear that we are using. And really important to us was it to be CPU friendly. I guess you could say RAM friendly, stable, stable. That's the bottom line. Very important that it's stable, and also very important that we can take it anywhere. We can perform it on different computers. That it's not something that needs a whole lot of configuration and a whole lot of things. It doesn't need things to go right for it to work. It can just work, and you know that it will work as much out of the box as possible. So that is another thing to keep in mind, as I will show you what we were using. So let's get into the gear. So what we have here, like I said, it's we're two people. So basically I'm sitting here and Os is sitting over here. Os is in front of a Akai MPK 25, which is a MIDI keyboard with some with knobs and pads. In the tracks that we have going right now, she isn't triggering anything with the keyboard, but we might actually do that. Right now we're not playing the keyboard in what I'm going to show you, but it's possible that we will, of course, in other tracks. What she is doing is she's using the pads and she's using the knobs, and she's also there. She has a Waldorf Rocket that is under her control, and so she's playing the rocket stuff from the rocket, manipulating the rocket knobs. I have a Akai APC 40 over here, a Innovation Launchpad Mini, and a Virus, which we kind of at the moment in the tracks we have we use it, but kind of sparingly. We'll probably use it more. It's a great synth, and we'll get around to utilizing it much more. But it is in here. I'll show you in this track the BIOS channel. So what is basically going on is I'm using the APC40 and the Launchpad just in one capacity. You can use these things in so many capacities. Can be really awesome. But in this concept, in this like sort of way we're doing the set, I'm using both the Launchpad and the APC40 to trigger clips in Ableton. And if we move over here to Ableton, So this is Ableton. I guess you all know Ableton. That's the reason you're here to watch this. So as you can see, we have channels spread out across the whole session view. There's nothing in the arrange view. It's just in the session view. And this yellow rectangle is actually what the Novation Mini is set on, these channels. And the APC is set on these channels. And obviously I can scroll around, I can scroll the APC, but I don't do that. I decided that I'm not going to do that live. I'm not going to scroll around. I have 16 channels that I can trigger hands-on, spot-on, using the launchpad and the APC. And then I have just a few more, 2 more channels actually, that I trigger with the mouse. So it's just a little more. These ones, OS is triggering. So I don't even have to deal with these ones. So I have almost everything with pads, and the thing with these 2 sounds is that I only play them in the intro of the track anyways. So basically everything that I am manipulating, that I am triggering, is on the pads. Now you could say it's a bit silly to have, two pad controllers just to trigger, because you can play drums, you can do awesome things with these controllers. And as you can see, I have some channels have only 1 clip on them. So you could say, why not just trigger it with the mouse? But it's totally not the same, because if you look on the APC, well, you can't really see it on this pic. I also have knobs. So what is going on is I'm with one hand on the knobs on the APC, and then my other hand is manipulating, is triggering either on the APC or on the launchpad. So it's much more, I don't know, I mean, I do use also the mouse. I kind of use all of them together. They're all interfaces, that's the way I see it. Sometimes it'll be quicker, whatever is quicker, and like at the moment, if whatever, that's the bottom line. I use the mouse, I use the APC 40, and I use the launchpad just to my advantage to be able to trigger things. So yeah, like I said, you could do so much more, but the reason that I'm triggering things and I'm manipulating things with knobs, I'll show you in a second the knobs, but I'm not playing the keyboard, and Os is not playing the keyboard, and there's some stuff we're not doing, and the only reason is because we're always busy anyway. There's no place in this particular track and the way we built this one to do additional things, because we're already doing things all the time. So you have to that's another thing that you have to think about while building your set. You might say, I want to do this, but you have 2 hands, if you have 2 guys, then you have 4 hands, but you are limited by your humanity, let's call it that way. So you have to decide, do I want to play the keyboard here, or do I want to do this here, do you want to do whatever, you can't do everything, obviously. So let's look at the channels. Let's look how we set it up to be, like we said, CPU friendly and all of that, blah, 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 all that stuff that I wrote right here. So first of all, yeah, let's talk about the CPU friendly and get that over with. As you notice on idle, it's kind of jumping between 9 and 10%. I had it even lower, actually, but I can live with 10%. This is an old computer on Windows XP, and on the laptop it runs even better than on this desktop. So, and the way we keep it low is we are using the only plugins in this track are just built-in Ableton ones. And you'll notice that some tracks do not have any plugins at all. So if these are clips that I'm just triggering, I've already put the effects. I've just frozen them and bounced them, so I don't have the effects. Because what I had, like on this one, I had some EQ, some compression, I don't know, whatever I had on it, and I just bounced it because it's not something, whatever, the bottom line is this, whatever I'm not manipulating real time, I don't need the effect to be over here, right? Because I'm not going to manipulate it, so what the heck do I need it for? So I'm saving CPU, I'm bouncing everything that I don't need affected. And everything that has stuff like delays and things that I have routed to knobs, then I keep them. And that's it, more or less. So you get a really, really cheap CPU, the track is really not heavy. And also we talked about tourability and accessibility. So this track can pretty much, all you need is the stems. It'll load on any machine that has Ableton. That's it, it'll be fine. So you don't need to worry about, do I have this plugin, am I missing this plugin, whatever. It'll just play, and that's awesome. So we talked about that. Now let's talk about how we set it up to actually be able to, on the fly, actually manipulate and create a track. Obviously, everything, this track, for example, is Three Dots on a Map. It's from the first album of Ocean Star Empire. So what we did is we went back to that original track. We bounced everything. We took everything to a wave editor, to SoundForge, and we snapped every single one of the stems, brought them here into Ableton. Let's take one, I don't know, this one. Put the right BPM. Put the warp marker in the right place, all of that stuff, you know, make a loop, decide if it loops, decide if it doesn't loop, decide on action, what's it called? Action, whatever, you know, follow actions, yeah. Decide if you want follow actions or not, and just lay everything out this way. So, and in order to perform it, what I've done here is on each one of the tracks in our live set, I have the core channel of the kick, drum. Well, sometimes it's just the drums, sometimes it's with the bass line. Over here, I have so this would be the first one, and I'm triggering these with the launchpad. So, and I have them kind of set up, different loops. So this will be a rhythm section. Let's go over them quickly. This will be percussions, and I'm manipulating in that right now with the knobs. So just some percussion line with some automation. And then over here we have a channel with a bunch of things that are going on the grain delay, and sometimes they're using it and sometimes not. So that was without the grain delay, and I can bring in the grain delay with my knobs. This is something I'm doing with automation while the track is playing, so it would be, I can manipulate, you know, get really psychedelic stuff in there. And I'm now routed to the dry wet, so, you know, like on a break we have this going. And then, you know, when the break is over and the kick and bass come back in, I can get back to the melody, for example. Then we kind of just go across with various sounds. Now you'll notice, one thing I want to talk about, you'll notice the naming convention. If you see all of the tracks that we have in our set, all of them have similar naming, and it's kind of, if you remember these like old Yamaha organs where you had like voices that were called flute and cello and whatever, and they all sounded basically like an organ, but it was just a way to kind of distinguish between types of sounds, so that whenever I load one of the tracks in our set, you know, I can instantly, you know, the names kind of ring a bell for me. You know, it might not be actually sounding like a Goa sound, but for us in the set, you know, I know, okay, this is Goa. Stuff that are, everything is kind of like by category. I know that a fly, if the channel says fly, it'll be something like this. I know that rolls are stuff like this. I know that stabs are, damn, stabs. I know, and then there are track specific things like this. Okay, yeah, let's talk about this now. So what we have here, like I've shown you, we had various short loops. And then we have, I'll show you also what Os is doing, but let's finish with what I have. So we have all these short, we have like the rhythm section that we've shown. We have these short melodic loops. We have like melodic and delayed kind of stuff like that as well. We have an FM line. We have all these sorts of building blocks. We have little shouts that I can pass into the track. And then we have some of the channels that we will put in here. Look at this one. It's 128 bars. So it's really a long wave that we have exported from the original track. And so this gives one core sound, or a few of them. You know, we have this one in this track, and then we have this one that is it's not that long. This one is 32 bars, but okay, let's this one for example. So this is 128 bars. It's really long, and when I trigger this one, it's usually going like this. I trigger it with just the kick and bass. Like we have a little break, and then we have it come in, and we let it run. And it's kind of a way, you know, we're doing some crazy stuff in the beginning. We're getting the intro in, and then we're all the time interacting. And then I hit the break. Oops, wait. I hit this. And it's kind of a little reset, and it gives me just a little second to gather my thoughts. And it's running, you know. And then, again, I can easily layer things on this. So I'm just doing an example, you know. And I can automate the volumes using the APC40 faders. So now one hand is on the Novation Launchpad, and it's going to trigger a vocal, and one hand is going to trigger. That's what I was triggering. This with the Launchpad, and this with the APC. So I needed two hands for that. And then, while this stuff is going on, us will have her channels. And what us basically has plugins. She has synths. One is the analog. Again, everything is okay. This is not from. Okay, yeah, you caught me. One thing that isn't built in from Ableton, but it's a really cheap. It's like an old kind of TB303 that we don't really use it as a 303. It's like more of a lead kind of sound. But yeah, that's the only non. Okay, no, I lied again. This one too. Okay, sorry. So synth one and the TB. Yeah, and this track. And most other tracks, it's just Ableton plugs. But again, these are really cheap CPU plugins. These are no big deal. So she has this, and the Ableton synth, and the Waldorf Rockets. And if you look here, we have built our own interface using Max MSP for the Waldorf Rocket. So that's kind of cool as well. And the idea is, when this big sound comes out, I'm kind of doing like a nice little pass. I'll play the pass for you. And then Os is coming in with her sounds. I won't be able to do it like on time, because while I am now supposed to take the fader off of channel 3. Didn't do it in time because I'm talking to you guys. Insert this sound, and it's coming in with the grain delay. So, and I'm fading it in slowly. And it's coming in with that grain delay. And while I'm drawing it away from the grain delay, I'm also high passing the kick and bass. Then I'm taking off the kick and bass. This is now fully melodic. And I'll try to input her channels. I won't do it in time, I guess. Yeah, I can. Oops, sorry. That was supposed to come in with the kick, and yeah, I was supposed to go like this. So it was supposed to pass. And then now she's in there. She's in there with these sounds. Now, obviously, it's more interesting with the both of us because right now I'm messing with her sounds instead of doing what I'm supposed to do, which is take this one out, do a little kick fill, obviously in the right place, get in, I don't know, activate this one, and she's like doing that like psytrance, woo, melody stuff. So that's the way we kind of interact between us. It's kind of hard to get it right just with one person. And then we just go into a break usually. And then I'm supposed to do my part, which is get this one in. It's supposed to be two people, like I said. So I've kind of shown you, I've shown you really how we set it up, how we set up this track. And it's very simple once you kind of get you don't have to do it like we did it. I'm not saying like, I was going to say simple once you get what we've done, but it's not really that way. It's simple once you get what you want to do. You can do it totally differently. You can, have a drum rack here and play live drums. You can play your melodies live. You can do it totally differently. We've just decided to spread it out. I kind of call our live set, it's like Ibiza EJ on crack or something. It's it's triggering the loops, but it's also manipulating a lot of stuff. So I have manipulations on many channels. Like I manipulate the kick and bass with EQ. I manipulate the drums live. I manipulate this one live. I manipulate this one. I manipulate this one. I manipulate. That's it. These are the ones that I do. And then Os is doing this, and this, and this all real time. Oh, and I also have a virus channel. This one in the end. So I also have the virus going on, and I have a microphone. The one I'm talking with you right now. In our live set itself, it's usually like we're gonna use it with like some delay. Lay. So. Track is running. Blah blah blah. Channel. And I can go. So it's like I can be like a synth that does passes and sound effects and all these weird sounds, and it doesn't cost me CPU because it's just with the mic. It might cost me, this is in the scope where I'm cheating, but I'll just put, before we take this anywhere, I'll just add a channel here, which is an input for the mic with just, look what I have here. It's just a low cut and a delay, and the resonator isn't even doing anything. So yeah, that's the way you can do it. That's the way we are doing it. You can take some of these concepts and use them for your own kind of thoughts. One thing I would kind of like to mention is if you notice that the yellow one, this one is the launchpad, and then the blue one is the APC 40. So just by looking at it, the launchpad covers way more ground. The grid is much bigger. Also, the launchpad is much smaller in size, physical size. It's much cheaper in cost. It doesn't have faders and it doesn't have knobs, but what I think right now is that for the same price that I got the APC 40, I could get like five launch pads and one control surface with knobs. They would be fitting easier in the backpack, so tourability, fit easier in the backpack. Break less easy than the APC 40, and if one of them breaks, you're just replacing one launch pad. Yeah, and I think right now it's just a much better buy, much less weight even. I doubt that 6 launchpad minis even weigh like one APC 40. So, and also the launchpad, what we're doing again, we're just triggering. What you can do is, you can use it as a drum machine. You can use it in so many different ways. If you have like 5 launch pads, you can configure one of them you can configure 1 or 2 or whatever of them to be, with the mixer mode to control volumes, to control faders, stuff like that. So, yeah, just wanted to mention that. Right now, that's my thinking. Just get a bunch of launch pads and maybe like the MPK 25, like 25 that we have. Yeah, something like that. Launch pads and MPK 25. So I hope you took something from here. I might show another track in the next tutorial. I think in the next tutorial, instead of showing a full track, I'll show you some cool aspects in the other tracks that we have. So stay tuned, and we'll go through some more more in depth how we built the channels themselves in the next tutorials.